I'm hoping once it does relax, it may even feed. It's going to want to feed as quickly as possible. Hippo to a gabba feeding on potentially. I've forgotten what I was talking about, and for those of you who are new, you'll begin to realize that multitasking is not one of my strengths. Yes, now it's back. The Djuma waterhole cam. Kathleen, thank you for that update. It would be very interesting for those of you who are not aware of the updates. I'm sure there are some groups where they give updates as to what's going on the Djuma waterhole cam. So it might be worth tuning into that frequency so you can get to find out when exciting stuff is going on. And importantly, what Kathleen has mentioned is that she has often heard impala rutting at the Djuma waterhole cam, and there are some beautiful big open clearings there that make for a wonderful little mating territory for the impala. There's lots of water, it's open and safe. It can be quite dangerous for antelope in the thick bush because there's lots of hiding place for the predators.
To be a new viewer, we are with the Nkuhuma Pride of Lions. You are watching them live, same time as I am, from the Djuma Private Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands in South Africa. The lions have killed a young hippo in the early hours of this morning, and they're now in the process of feeding. And as you can see, there's some very fat lions in the background, and some young sub-adults and one lioness are still feeding. You might get a growl, little lady. And then there was a question earlier whether the whole pride is here. Now the whole pride is here. We can only see 5. Then there's another 2 lying up next to the road, and then there's the young male we saw a bit earlier lying next to the dam. So the full Nkuhuma pride is here, and they're making short work. They're probably at just less than half of this young hippo that was killed this morning. I don't think they're going to be moving too far, but we're in the right spot this time of the evening. Hopefully the other predators like hyenas might be moving, and I'm quite sure hyena will be able to smell this carcass. So there could be some entertainment a little bit later tonight. Hi Benjamin, welcome on the Sunset Safari. Benjamin is wondering if the lions get less aggressive towards each other if it's a big kill and there's more meat. Strangely enough, Benjamin, when they first start feeding, not. But as you can see now, there's a lot more fat bellies. They do get less aggressive towards each other. There's not so much pressure to eat the most amount of food possible. That might, however, change completely if one of the adult males arrives. And they will probably hog most of the remains of this carcass for themselves. So for those of you who might be new or not sure, as I said a little bit earlier, we are live from the Sabi Sands Game Reserve in South Africa. You are seeing lions feeding on a young hippo at the exact same time that we are. We also are interactive, so it gives you the opportunity to ask us questions about what we are seeing out here in the African bush, and you can do that via email, and the email address is questions@WildEarthTV, or you can just use the hashtag SafariLive if you're on Twitter. damp sand at the edge of the water. And as I said, he can be quite a bully around a kill. He is physically bigger than all the others, even than his mother and aunts now. So being bigger in lion society is better because you can sort of throw your weight around. So it'll be interesting to see whether he's had enough, or is he going to maybe try glut a bit more meat. He's not walking straight for the carcass. I think he might pass out somewhere on the way. There you can see how well camouflaged the lion can be. I mean, he's not trying to be particularly sneaky either. He's just walking, and you can see how that color just fits in with the bush around him. Hi Debbie, welcome on Sunset Safari. Debbie would like to know how bad it smells. Debbie, it actually doesn't smell too bad yet. There is a very distinct sort of smell of raw meat and also of stomach content, so undigested grass. Not that unpleasant. It hasn't been that warm today, so the meat's not rotten at all yet, so we're not getting that really rancid smell. Just a little bit of sort of fresh meat and sort of stomach content, which is just undigested grass. So the smell's not too bad yet, but I think by this time tomorrow, that'll be a very different scenario.
I think the lions are smellier.
Yes, no, Brian's correct. The lions are probably much smellier than the hippo carcass. Well, we've got same question from two people. Thanks very much for the questions. It's Marianne from Arkansas and Chris from California. They would like to know, would hyenas try take on this whole pride to steal the meat? Most definitely, if there were enough hyenas. So if a hyena happened upon this particular scene, lots of fat lazy lions and a hippo carcass. There's another lioness walking in to the right there, Brian. What they would do, possibly if it was a single hyena, they would stop and call for backup, and you would hear them. They would go. It's an incredible noise to hear that. Really get the other hyenas going, and that would actually rally the rest of the hyena clan to come into this area. I mean, there are 8 lions here with the young male. I would say you probably need a minimum of 10 hyenas to push these lions off, probably closer to 15. Because 2 of the lions are quite young, sub-adults. So I think, yeah, at least 10 hyenas should do it, but I think the hyenas would be happier if there were a few more of them. Size and aggression. The young sub-adults will sort of get some, but they're right on the edge, and they'll probably take a few beatings. And the lions will actually fight each other quite aggressively at a carcass. That's lovely late afternoon light. Here's another one of the sub-adults arriving. Hi, Ellen from Arkansas. Ellen says in all her years of watching Safari Live, she's never seen a hippo carcass. She would like to know whether it's a delicacy for the predators, and if so, would that make the hyenas and leopards and other animals try to steal it? Well, Ellen, a leopard, being a solitary animal, would never try with this many lions around, or generally even with a single lion around. Hyenas, on the other hand, would most definitely try, and it's not just because it's a hippo that they would try, it's just what they do. And as I was saying, when it comes to hippos and animal behavior, a lot of animal behavior is area specific rather than species specific. So the main reason you probably haven't seen a hippo kill in your time at Safari Live is because in this part of the Sabi Sands there's no sort of permanent rivers, there are only dams. So the hippo population here is not as big as, say, further in the south on the Sabi and Sand River. But in certain parts of Africa, lions will hunt hippos because often they are the most available of the large prey species, like in Luangwa, in Zambia, and in northern Kafue, also in Zambia, and in Botswana they also hunt hippos quite regularly. And I've seen a fair number of hippo kills in South Africa, and in the Sabi Sands and in Kruger National Park. So I wouldn't say they're too much of a delicacy. The reason we don't see hippo kills so often in this area is because they are spoilt for choice with a lot of other prey species. And hippo can be a very dangerous animal for lions to hunt. And those huge incisors will bite a lion in half if they manage to get them. And even taking on a young hippo like this, they would have the mother to contend with. So probably the main reason we don't see as many hippo carcasses is a dual reason, partly because in this part of the Sabi Sands we don't have the biggest hippo population, and secondly that they are such a dangerous animal for a predator to hunt. So guys, while these lions are being flat cats and being quite lazy, we're going to cross over to Scotty, see what he's up to and see where he's going and what he's found. And we will be back with you guys a little bit later. Enjoy your time with Scott.
Welcome back, and you've arrived at a good time, and I'm going to stop just up ahead here and show you the beautiful view out to the west. We're on our way to the hyena den site. We're just a few minutes away, and we're really looking forward to seeing what's going on there. We had a good sighting there this morning, and interestingly enough, we saw two of the young cubs feeding or chewing on a kudu's leg, the remains of a kudu's leg. So in about 10 minutes, I'm guessing the sun would dip down over the horizon. It's such a beautiful time to be out here.
How do you like my star filter?
Exactly. Look at that. VM's turned the sun into an actual star. How? I'm not too sure. But we're not going to waste too much time here, because I'd like to try and show you the hyena den sites when there is still some of this beautiful golden afternoon sunlight. So without any delay, let's go and have a look. It really will be interesting to see what happens in the next 45 minutes to an hour, because won't it be really interesting if in fact some other predator stumbles upon these lions, whether it's wild dogs or hyena. I hear Brent has been discussing the variable scenarios that could unfold if anything was to arrive there, but the only way of actually knowing what will happen is to be there when it does. So let's cross fingers, and hopefully there'll be some action there a little bit later. But failing that, I'm feeling confident that we're going to have a bit of luck at the hyena den. this den site is quite far from where Brent is with the lions and the hippo kill, but that's not to say that the adults would not potentially make it there this evening. It would probably just take them a while. It's not likely that they'll be able to smell the carcass from where the den site is here, even if the wind was blowing in the right direction. But who knows, maybe we'll be able to follow them from here all the way to Brent, and that would be a seriously cool thing to happen. Just be 1 or 2 minutes before we get to the den site, so don't go anywhere. Got a question through from Busy Bee in Pennsylvania. Good evening and welcome on board. Busy Bee, I'm guessing that you were watching yesterday afternoon's drive, and that's why you've asked this question. Busy Bee is interested to know, at what age will young hyena start attending the nighttime excursions with their parents? And it's typically at around 6 months of age that adult hyena may incorporate their cubs with them on their scavenging and or hunting trips, which typically happen after dark. And interestingly enough, Brent and all of you who were watching yesterday afternoon got to see one of the young cubs that we've watched growing up actually attend its first kill, and it was a leopard that had made the kill, a large male leopard, and this relatively small cub that hopefully we'll be able to show you now was there. So it is obviously risky, but they do start getting exposed to real life threats from 6 months of age, but they can nurse for about a year, so they can rely on milk for very long periods of time, and a lot will depend on the individual cub and the clan that it grows up with. Well, we are in luck, and for now I can just see the 3 cubs. I'm sure 1 or 2 of the adults may be lying up nearby, or who knows, maybe they've already headed off in search of something to feed on, and maybe they will end up with you and Brent in a few minutes. They were full-bellied this morning, and like I said, they were chewing on the remains of a kudu's leg. So the adults were full, but that's not to say that they will not gorge themselves if there are any other opportunities this evening. Just to let you know, it was the cub on the far left that was the one that attended the kill yesterday, and it's about 6 or 7 months old, and that's just a guess. We're not sure exactly when they were born, so that is my guess, and everyone's guess will vary. The 2 on the right are about a month or so younger than that older one, and you'll notice they are a very similar size and notably smaller. And as you can see, they do not have even the slightest of worries at the moment. They are lying at the entrance to their network of burrows and tunnels within a large old termite mound. So if any danger was to approach, they would be able to scamper down the hole, where it's very difficult for larger animals that could pose a threat to them It would be very difficult for them to get in. Well, two of the youngsters you can see were fast asleep. The other one in the middle was testing the air. You could see how it was lifting its nose up and smelling, and they do have an incredible sense of smell. Probably their most powerful tool when it comes to finding carcasses. And it is fair to say that in this area of Africa, the hyena do predominantly scavenge from the leopards. It will vary greatly depending on where hyena occur. Some hyena clans hunt for a living and don't really scavenge too much. But here in the Sabi Sands, because there are so many leopard which make for an easy opponent to steal from, the hyena make the most of it. It really would be wonderful to have sensors as acute as theirs. When they prick their heads up, listening intently, I haven't even heard slightly what it could be that got their attention. And that's something I always try and remind myself, is that these animals are so much better in tune with their senses than we are. And I often wonder what it would be like to be able to smell like a hyena, or have night vision like lions and leopards do at night. It really would be interesting to see exactly how they see the world and how they can smell the world. It's a very different ball game for them. The sun has just dipped below the horizon. They're all listening to impala ratting. We've just got a question through from Ramey on Twitter, and Ramey is interested to know what would make a good mother archer when it comes to raising cubs. And that's a great question, Ramey, considering we're looking at 3 little cubs that are all flourishing and doing very well up till now. Now, the fact that these cubs are doing so well thus far in their life is, I guess we could look into their den sites. So this is a den site along with another one that they use. They actually moved back to the one here about 2 days ago, 1 or 2 days ago. We're not sure exactly when, but they were living in another den site about a mile from here for the last month and a half. And I guess the location of the den sites, and more importantly the network of burrows within which the cubs will hide from any threats, will be an initial pillar when it comes to their well-being. and therefore we can say that their mothers, there are two mothers that are raising these 3 cubs, so their mothers have chosen den sites successfully where their cubs can hide, so that makes a good mother. As you can see, they're very well fed and in good condition, so successful parents in terms of feeding will be monumental, especially in the initial stages of their life where they rely solely on their mother for milk. So if their mothers are successful in terms of scavenging and finding food, they will feed well and look just like they should be now, nice and plump and happy. I guess those are 2 of the major things that would make for a good hyena mother. It is important to know that predators, all the predators in this area, will compete fiercely and kill one another's cubs whenever they get the chance. So there is a very real threat posed to these cubs from both other hyena, from different clans, lion, leopard, wild dog, and even jackal will kill hyena cubs if they get the chance. So those are some of the threats they face. Pythons will also go into den sites and into these burrows, and they are one predator that can slither into the tunnels and catch baby hyena. They have also been known to catch baby leopard as well as lion. So even pythons can pose a threat to them. And there are so many variables. It doesn't matter where they have their den sites in terms of safety, because lions and leopards will always move through these areas, I suppose to varying degrees. But I hope that answers your question, Rene. There are so many variables, and at least the mothers of these hyena are doing a great job at parenthood so far.
And Andrew has a young mother.
They all seem to be lifting their heads, smelling the air again. It would be wonderful to know what it is that they can smell, because it really is exciting them. They've almost got smiles on their faces as they lift their heads into the air. But has it stopped for him? But has it stopped for him? The older bigger one wasn't too scared, but certainly, oh, look at its tail. It's not taking any chances, or is it? It is the most bizarre noise, and you would have heard a funny gargling, burping roar potentially. And that's the noise they make when they are chasing one another around. The individual that we saw actually had one of its horns missing. I wonder if it had just been broken in a clash. Now, it is possible. Which doesn't bode well for that impala's future in terms of getting any mating rights. Well, that's a pity. It really got them alert and awake, which was great to see for a moment. But without any adults nearby, they have decided to retreat to safety. And Philip in West Virginia actually has asked a great question, because he's just asked, can the adult hyenas actually also fit into the den as easily as the cubs just did? And they can fit in, and the female will actually climb in order to give birth. She will give birth within that den site. However, at the moment the tunnel is very narrow, so it's about this big, and even though the adult hyena could begin to excavate, which would have done in order to give birth, you'll probably find that she returns some of the soil that she would have excavated in order to allow her to get in, and therefore making the hole smaller and more difficult for other large animals to get in. I really want to go and have a look and see if we can find these impalas rotting. Now that the hyena have disappeared down the burrow, I think that could be the end of them for this evening. Let's go and see if we can show you these impala. Defend their cubs from any potential threats, and they certainly will. But any wise adults will only defend their cubs if they are confident that they will not get injured in doing so. If an adult hyena loses its life, it means that no more cubs can be born. And occasionally they will make an educated decision to let the opponent take their cubs. But they will do whatever it takes. I guess there's so many different variables and different scenarios. I think it was just a few days ago that Peter Pretorius stumbled upon the wild dog being chased away from the hyena den site. So the wild dog went in there, took a chance, and the hyenas were in big enough numbers to then chase off the wild dogs. But if, in fact, there was only one adult hyena and a whole pack of wild dogs arrived, her actions would be very different to than if there was 4 or 5 hyena there to help her. So it does depend on the scenario. The good news is I've found at least one of the male impalas that I can hear snorting. And I'm just going to see if we can get you a little bit closer to him. And we'll keep an eye on him and see what he does, and hopefully he'll perform for us. We might get lucky. Oh, well, we got close. At least you got to hear it. Sadly, his head disappeared behind the bush. Let's just move forward and maybe he'll do it again. So that is the rutting of the male impala that we heard. We didn't really see it very well. Oh no, he is a performer, this boy. I think we're going to get spoiled. Let me see if this is going to be the spot. Yeah. Awesome camera work, VM. And this is awesome. I'm so glad we've found ourselves a performer. I'm just going to reverse and give VM a better angle. And I'm sure a lot of you are happy to stick around this boy and watch him run around. I'm not sure who he's talking to at the moment, but there's no other impala in sight. Maybe it's us he's trying to show off for. They do use middens, so they often defecate in set spots. And this does provide territorial things, and now we can see more territorial displays, rubbing his orbital glands on those leaves. So 2 great territorial indicators there, defecating in a set position. If we were to drive there and look, we'd find a lot of old impala dung there, so they use the same place. And then he also rubbed those eyes and orbital glands, which seep a liquid when they are in the rutting season. He's not the biggest of males. He is in good condition, but maybe he's a year off being in his prime, and maybe next year he'll be strutting his stuff in an area where there are at least some females to watch him. He's getting involved in the rutting spirit, but it appears that sadly he doesn't have any spectators, which means he may have a lonely rutting season. It at least appears that way for now. Come on, sing us one more song. And I must commend VM again on that. Oh, here we go. And it is behind a bush at the moment, but I am going to move now, and I did see some movement beyond where he is, and maybe it's another impala coming to match up against this male. We've just got a comment through from Bulleray on Twitter. Good evening, Bulleray, and I can certainly understand why you may be getting confused with the impala's rutting call that we've been hearing now with that of the rasping call of a leopard. They can sound quite similar, and Bulleray says she's been getting a little bit confused by this when she listens to the audio coming from the Djuma waterhole camera. And that doesn't matter if you get confused, and I'm glad you're getting to hear and also see them making this call, so that hopefully the intelligence you all provide us from the waterhole camera is more precise. And we do thank you for all the info you do send to us. Well, that impala has now disappeared off into the distance, and we are going to continue on. I'm beginning to wonder what's going on with Brent and the lions, and we may be getting an update on that shortly, but in the meantime, let's see what we can find. That stage of the evening now when the hyena that have started moving may be beginning to stumble upon carcasses or arriving at carcasses that they've smelt during the day. And that certainly is something to look forward to. Exciting prospects for later on this evening with Brent and the lions. Got a question through from Joe in Florida. Evening, Joe, and thanks for asking this. Joe would like me to elaborate on a fact that I brought up yesterday regarding hyena. And I mentioned that in certain areas in this specific research report that I read was done in the Ngorongoro crater in Tanzania. And in this specific area, they found that hyena were actually making kills more successfully than lion, because the lion were actually relying on stealing the kills from the hyena. So it was a completely roles reversed, and that's not uncommon in Africa. The same species will act differently in different areas. Here, the hyena have got a high leopard density, which is relatively easy and safe to steal from. It's more dangerous to steal from lion, because lion can kill hyena with a lot more ease, and therefore they've specialized in stealing, and from leopards specifically. In other areas like Tanzania and the Ngorongoro crater, the hyena have developed a skill of hunting, and the lion have realized that it's easier to steal from the successful hyenas than it is to hunt for themselves. So you do get these strange differences with the same species. And you could even have a unique scenario where certain hyenas will be great hunters in one area and another clan may rely on scavenging. It's just like humans. You cannot generalize too broadly, because you always get differences in terms of personalities and habits. And I often like to relate us as humans to animals when comparing these discussions. And thanks for showing some interest in that point, because it is an interesting point. And it doesn't seem like we're having much luck over here, so let's head over to Brent and find out what he's up to. There's some exciting prospects on the way for the next part of the show. See you later.
Welcome back, guys. You can see the lions are not really doing much. They're sort of digesting, lying around flat, but it is the right time of the day for other predators like hyenas to start moving. Just in case some of you are joining us a little bit late and haven't got the full update, we're with the Nkuhuma Pride of Lions, and they killed the young hippo in the early hours of this morning, found them on morning game drive, and we've come back to follow up. We're hoping that maybe a hyena moves through the area and starts vocalizing and calls some other hyenas. You never know. There hasn't been much wind today, so I don't think the scent spread too far. But also, it's always very interesting. You see the flies around the carcass. Buzzing, 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 laying eggs. Baby flies have to eat too. You can see quite a lot of the fat layers from at the back have been eaten, and now they're onto sort of that very pinkish meat. The hippo meat is quite a lot lighter in color than, say, buffalo meat. And there we go. You can see those almost grotesque bellies on those lions. But while they're not doing anything, and we're sitting in right next to the kill, we're going to have a quick look at a few trees around us and give you a chance to identify them, and all the answers for the questions I'm about to ask. You can send the answers via email to questions at WildEarthTV, or you can just use the hashtag Safari Live if you're on Twitter. So I think we're going to start off with a nice easy one. Let's use my spotlight to point. You can have a look there. That is the tree. I'll give you a hint. It is the most common tree species in this area of the Sabi Sands. And who can tell me what its name is? The most common tree species in this area of the Sabi Sands. You can send your answers to questions at WildEarthTV, or just use the hashtag Safari Live if you're on Twitter. Hi, Christine from Wisconsin. Christine's saying the animals that they have in Wisconsin, like white-tailed deer and bears, get a very distinct winter coat as the winter onsets. She'd like to know, and they shed that in the spring, do lions, impala, leopard, hyenas, other animals we get around here get that distinct winter coat? Christine, I think their fur maybe does get a little bit thicker, but nothing like you can compare to a northern hemisphere animal. You must realize what we consider cold is probably a balmy day for you. So I mean, we're sitting at the beginning of winter, and I'd say our average daytime temperature is probably at the highest point pushing around 80 degrees Fahrenheit. And the coldest we're getting at night at the moment is probably 10 degrees Celsius, which is, I'm terrible at conversions, but I know it's probably around, I think, no, it can't be that low, 45, 50 Fahrenheit. So they don't get that very distinct winter coat that you can see in animals that have to deal with incredibly harsh winters and huge fluctuations between summer and winter temperatures. So, listening carefully to see if we can hear anything coming, but we've got some really good listening hearing aids with us today, called the Nkuhuma Pride. If a hyena was going to arrive, I think they would hear it far before us, and we could tell from their body language that something was up.
I believe the lions are still quite lazy, and there's nobody that's arrived to give them a hard time yet. But in the meantime, have a look in this tree. And we were just talking earlier this afternoon on drive about looking for silhouettes or strange shapes in trees to help you find animals. And you'll notice there's a strange shape in this tree. And on closer inspection, VM will reveal who we found. It's the first time I've managed to show you one of these awesome animals, and I'm really excited about it. Oh, good evening. A massive owl called a Verreaux's eagle owl, or what used to be known as a giant eagle owl. Would you like me to shine the spotlight, Liam? Just the periphery.
This is with the Nkuhuma driver.
And you'll notice it's got beautiful,
May we join? It's Bernie here.
bright pink eyelids when it looks at us.
I'm the only station here at the moment. They are flat tax.
And it's probably about 2 feet high, and a formidable hunter. They can take down prey as large as vervet monkeys and occasionally small antelope. And interestingly enough, Brent managed to show you one of these last night as well. So we are getting very lucky with the owls.
Head straight west and take the western access roads from the...
Apologies, I've got my game drive channel going. We've got new radios at the moment, and even though their technology is better than the old ones, some of their mechanisms are a bit flawed, and one of them is you cannot turn the volume down when people are talking. Now it's down there. We need to just be patient, because I really would like it to look at us. It seems very intent on something, and they've got incredible hearing as well as sight. And maybe it can hear something down there. That's the reason why they have a very flat facial disc. It acts like a massive satellite. Oh, here comes a fork-tailed drongo, and if VM zooms out a little bit, we may see it just above the owl. And fork-tailed drongos are renowned for doing that, flying and pecking birds of prey on the head. The David and Goliath battle. And I've just been updated that also in Brent sighting with the same owl, or same species of owl, oh, they're the pink eyelids, you may have got a glimpse of them. But in Brent sighting yesterday, there were also some fork-tailed drongos in attendance, mobbing the bird. And you sometimes even see these fork-tailed drongos flying after birds of prey, pecking them on the head. Wouldn't it be fascinating if we saw it launch out from here and catch something? It's something I've rarely seen birds of prey making kills, and it would be a wonderful thing to witness. And as VM pans out, the silhouette that we saw a bit earlier when we found this owl is becoming more and more prominent. And again, a good example of what to look for. You can see it's a very abnormal vertical stance, and with leopards or kills it would be the opposite. The vertical part of the animal would often be dangling not above the branch but below the branch. But you certainly can see there's something wrong in that tree when you have a glance at it, and that's because there's a massive owl perched in it. I'm trying to just shine the periphery of the spotlight onto the owl, just to light it enough for us to see, and that we're having a minimal impact on its evening. The nocturnal animals like owls and leopards and lions, their eyes can readjust to darkness very well because that's what their eyes are designed to do, whereas their prey species we would avoid shining on because that would temporarily blind them, making for an easy target for any of the predators. Well, it seems to be hearing two different things, one directly to the right of it and one directly to the left of it. Thankfully for owls, they've got an incredible ability to twist their head almost 180 degrees, and they can look, there we go, on cue. They can twist their head in every direction imaginable, making for easy maneuvering and not having to jump around and hop from branch to branch in order to look around. They simply just pivot their head. There, those pink eyelids again. I wonder if it caught something. We're just going to wait to see if it flies off. It was incredibly silent, that flight. No, I'm going to have to start the engine, but I'm just going to get a bit of momentum and then creep forward silently, try and get a glimpse and see what it's doing. I hope it's got lucky. I think it has. It's feeding, it's feeding. This is awesome. Please don't fly away. Just want to have a look at what you're eating. Oh, well, it did land, and it's getting already attacked. Also, let me try and find a better gap. There we go. And if we watch closely now, we'll see it continuing to feed. It caught something small. I couldn't see what it was there. The fork-tailed drongo is giving it a really hard time. And look at the beautiful purple sky in the background. What an awesome, awesome sighting this is. I just wish I knew what it was that it caught. It could have been one of the bushveld gerbils. Basically a rat-sized rodent. But VM, you did see it feeding.
Yep, definitely.
Cool. It wasn't just me imagining things. I tend to get overexcited in situations like this. I just need to double check I wasn't imagining things. Look at how beautiful the sky is in the background. We've just seen one of the apex aerial predators doing its business, running after me, just saying I've never seen an owl make a kill, and very seldom see birds of prey catching anything. And it certainly was staring intently in that direction before it flew off so silently. And VM did a great job in showing the owl land down in the grass. We couldn't see what it had caught, but on closer inspection we saw it feeding on something. Now it's got two fork-tailed drongos giving it a hard time, and VM's just giving an idea that it has flown quite far away, and sadly we are not going to be able to get you a better view of it from here. And it's just flown off. Wonderful, VM. I hope you enjoyed that. And folks, that was something very unique, something that has never happened in all of the years that I've spent guiding, and it's coming on 7 years now that I've been doing this. So I'm really happy and glad we got to show you some good owl action, and it's been an interesting afternoon. We've seen what was the other bird we saw make a kill earlier? I've forgotten, but I remember saying that we had seen one animal make a kill, a tiny animal, after seeing lions feeding on a hippo, and now seeing an owl catch a small rodent. So I'm guessing a wonderful, wonderful evening. So we're going to carry on now and see what else we can find. And in the meantime, I think it's certainly worth heading back to Brent and getting an update on what the lion are up to. We'll see you later.
Welcome back, guys. As you can see, very, very little happening with the Nkuhuma Pride at the moment. But I believe you guys had a fantastic sighting with Scott of a hunting Verreaux's eagle owl. I'm a little bit jealous at the moment. But very, very happy, fat, lazy cats. We made the mistake of parking downwind so we could get a better view of them. And they happen to be very flatulent cats as well. So every now and then Brian and I get blasted with a really, really putrid smell of decay that comes from inside a lion's stomach.
A very foul aroma.
Yeah, foul aroma, that's exactly how to describe it. But worthwhile to be sitting next to a pride of lions. As you can see, the sun's setting, We're going to zoom in on one of the flatulent cats. We're definitely going to hang around here. This is the time of the evening when another predator like a hyena might be moving around and might stumble upon the remains of this carcass and this pride of lions. So it is a very interesting time to be with them. Even though they are static and not moving, it is worth staying with them. Good evening, Tom, from New Mexico. Tom is asking me, what is the funniest thing I've ever seen an animal do? Oof, Tom, that's quite a question. Which animal? I've seen lots of different animals do lots of funny things. But since we're sitting next to some flat cats, and this is a good example about how a flat cat sighting can turn into a really great, interesting sighting in a matter of seconds. I was in northern Botswana. I was actually with my dad, and we had some guests at the safari lodge that we used to have up there, and we were watching a pride of lions pretty much doing this. They were a little bit more hungry than this, so we knew they were going to move and start hunting. So we'd probably been sitting there for about 2 hours waiting for some action. And all the lions are spread out lying pretty much exactly like this. And then along down the road, came a honey badger. And honey badgers seem to walk like they own the African bushveld. They are not scared of anything. So this honey badger came down the road, sort of its arms out and marching, and he looked at the lions, he saw them, and he carried on walking straight past the lions. He was probably only about 25 meters from the lions, and like very similar to this pride, there was a young male lion of about the same age as this young male been watching this evening, and he saw this honey badger. The lioness sort of just stood there, sleeping, look up, I'm not messing with that, pop their head down, and carry on. And so the honey badger carries on. This young male lion runs up, big bowl of dust and tussle, and you just heard the most incredible noises coming out of this. And this honey badger's trying to bite this lion. This lion's growling. He doesn't know what to do anymore. And so it ends up that this male lion has got his paw on the middle of the honey badger, and he's trying to stay as far away from the honey badger as possible. And he just keeps his paw on it. And then after about 20 minutes, the lionesses sort of get up and they start stretching and start walking off down the road. This male lion has still got this honey badger, and now he doesn't know what to do. You can see him looking at the honey badger and then looking at the lionesses disappearing. He looks at the honey badger, looks at the lionesses disappearing. So as the lionesses sort of disappear out of sight, he sort of gets up enough courage, oh, my ear's falling out, to do something. And you can almost see him counting in his head, sort of 1, 2,
Anybody on Djuma copy me?
3, and he pushes this honey badger flat into the ground and then sprints away. And the honey badger chases him for a good 150, 200 meters, but obviously a male lion is much too fast for a honey badger to catch. But sorry, just excuse me. Go ahead, Candace.
Thanks, Brent. Just doing a radio check for my car.
Copy, no problem. So one of the lionesses got up and started feed. We're just going to move the vehicle here. Oh, wrong. So you can just see there, I'm just going to move the vehicle so we can be in a behind us. Now Brian's just checking, make sure another lion hadn't gone and flopped down directly behind us. They do that from time to time. trying to position the spotlight nicely for you guys. It's just not working tonight. It's so perfect the other night. Hi, Kim from Kansas City. Welcome on the Sunset Safari with the Nkuhuma Pride, feeding on a hippo carcass. Kim would like to know, if the lions were to leave this carcass, would a leopard scavenge? Most definitely, Kim. If there was not another major predator on there, a leopard would definitely scavenge. I've seen leopard feeding on an elephant carcass before, and hippo carcasses. Those have died from natural causes, but a leopard would scavenge if these lions weren't here. Oh, there you go, nice big piece of fat. Welcome, Trisha. Nice that you join us, even though it is a little bit late. Trisha's just saying she's just logged in, and she would like a recap on what we're seeing. Well, Trisha, I'll give you a quick recap. So this morning I heard a report of the Nkuhuma Pride just north of our boundary. So Brian and I came down, we checked this area, we found tracks, and then we found where they had chased a giraffe and they missed, and then Andrew came into the area to help me, and we were checking down further to the east, and Andrew then came along this road and spotted the lions from the road. And what looks like happened here, Trisha, is that there was a fight with its mother. The mother is actually in the dam. We're very close to Buffelshoek Dam. Buffelshoek Dam is probably about 150-200 meters away from us. And the reason we can tell that is more from the tracks here. There's a lot of, from where the mother was chasing and turning around, obviously the lion's chasing and trying to grab the baby. So just from the amount of ground that's been flattened in this general area, it does look like it. In this part of the Sabi Sands, a hippo could be considered an unusual prey for lions, but they are not generally unusual prey. There's a lot of lions in other places, Africa, that specialize in hippos, like the South Luangwa in Zambia. But it does look like they fought with the mother and were able to separate the calf for long enough from the mother for them to kill it. And it doesn't look like any of the lions got hurt during this process. One of the reasons that a lion might not want to go for a hippo is because of how dangerous and how big their teeth are. So it's very dangerous for a lion to try to take a hippo. And we can see how thick that skin is there. Isn't that incredible? So she's using her incisors on the side of her mouth to cut through the skin. Or decided it was too thick, she was going to try for something a bit softer. But Trisha, it is unusual in this area, but not unusual for lions. But the one thing we also got to remember, that a lot of animal behavior is area specific, not species specific. So guys, we're going to stay here with these lions, and if any action happens, we will let you know immediately. But we're going to link across to Scott. He's got a really big surprise for you. I don't even know what it is, so I'm also quite interested to find out. So off to Scott.
What a beautiful evening it is here at Djuma Private Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands. We've been spoiled today, and like we do get spoiled most days, Brent's been on most of the action today with the lions, but even I got lucky with the Varose Eagle Owl making a kill. Who would have thought we would see that? That was really cool. And I've got some really, really exciting news. Now, just to let you know, the radio comms that we've been that Karula does in fact have cubs currently. Roy says she's just south of Twin Dams. So this is the information we've got. I'll believe it's when I see it for myself, but I'm fairly certain it's true and something to look forward to. And that's what we're going to follow up on first thing tomorrow morning, as well as Brent with the lions to see how they get on with the feeding on the buffalo. Either way, great opportunities and prospects for tomorrow morning's drive. I hope you can all tune in. If not, you'll have to tune in the afternoon for an update. Anyway, a huge thank you from myself to all of you, the viewers, also to VM for his great camera work, and Tara and Nikki in the final control. See you all tomorrow.